Welcome to Speak for Yourself, presented by Honda.
Get that out there with your chest.
Talking to you
with your chest.
Show. Marcellus Wiley here, got my voice back, I guess. Emmanuel Acho.
My dog.
Our dressing rooms are right next to each other, so I heard all the fanfare of what you were wearing today.
I'm getting out my summer colors.
I see that. Yeah, a lot of hype. I don't think they were telling me. But no, you look all right. Let's get it going with the Brooklyn Nets, where the Nets hire Steve Nash to be their new head coach. Nash is a Hall of Fame player, but he has no previous coaching experience. The hire has some calling it, quote, white privilege, which is basically getting advantages over other races because of the color of your skin. But later in the odd twist, it was also referred to as, quote, black privilege, since Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving used their privilege to get the coach they wanted. Acho, a lot to unpack here, but is Steve Nash hire an example of white privilege?
No, it's not. And there's so many ways and avenues I could go. But let me just speak from the heart and start with this. When we're using volatile terms like white privilege or terms we may not hear as often like black privilege, we have to establish one thing and one thing first. The decision made, it has to have been made based on the adjective that precedes the word privilege. That's the only way that it can be white privilege, black privilege. The decision made must have been made based on the adjective that precedes the word privilege. So what are you talking about, Acho? This isn't a freaking English class. That adjective, white. Was Steve Nash hired because he is white? And the answer is no. The last 8 head coaches that were hired, former players without coaching experience. 4 of those 8 have been black. The last 5, 3 of those 5 have been black. But then, Marcellus, I heard something that was even more ludicrous. Well, he was hired by 2 black superstar players in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. So is that not black privilege? Remember, what is the word that precedes privilege? Black. Was Steve Nash hired because they were black? No, he wasn't hired because KD and Kyrie are black. He was hired because they were superstars. And their privilege in that instance would be superstars. Whether they was white superstars is irrelevant. They're superstars, and so they have that sort of power. We have to be careful, Marcellus, when talking about terms, serious matters like these, of throwing out words like, oh, he was hired because of white privilege. Because then it's like the boy who cried wolf. You can't always just play that card when the card has no means to be on the table.
I love it. I agree with you. He was not hired because of white privilege. We'll get into, I guess, a more pure understanding, observation, and definition of white privilege later in this block. Right now, let's just talk about Steve Nash, now the coach of the Brooklyn Nets. And it's unfortunate that he has to now live under this cloud, this shadow of white privilege, despite being a 2-time MVP, Hall of Fame point guard with tremendous relationships, if you ever spoke to him like I have, an amazing acumen, an amazing humility, and an amazing ability to communicate, to express what he knows in his head about the game of basketball to those he works with. They call him Kevin Durant's Yoda, like in the sense of working with Kevin Durant, having that relationship right here. And you talked about some of the statistics, because I don't like to get too far afield with my opinion unless I can support it with the facts and the reality. Since 1978, 9 of the 16 coaches who have become NBA coaches without previous head coaching experience, 9, more than half, were black. Like Derek Fisher of the Knicks. We are in a position where it's Ty Lue going to the Lakers, and he's like, nah, I don't want that job. But now Ty Lue probably to the Sixers, right? And we're going to sit here and now try to really trivialize this hire because of what Stephen A. said and what others are saying about this is white privilege. I find no merit of this being white privilege, but I would like to discuss probably a little deeper about what white privilege is.
Well, let's dive in because, again, this is such a serious topic, both in sports and out of sports, and Marcellus, we can't take this lightly. Again, if you're going to talk about white privilege, I've previously said it's not saying that your life hasn't been hard. It's saying your skin color hasn't contributed to the difficulty of your life. But Steve Nash and this hire has nothing to do with skin color. We don't even have to look at any other NBA team. Marcellus, we don't have to look at any other previous generations. Look at the Nets. Remember, they hired Jason Kidd after winning nearly 50 games. They hired him to replace in full-time Avery Johnson, another black head coach. That team had Garnett, it had Darren Williams. If I'm not mistaken, it had Paul Pierce. It was a team that was supposed to win big-time games, hired a coach, black coach, no previous coaching experience. Steve Nash, you could make a very strong, convincing argument that he accomplished more as a player than Jason Kidd did, although Jason Kidd did win an NBA championship. Yep. But outside that championship, you could make the argument Steve Nash accomplished more. So if we're going to make ludicrous to a degree statements like this, if we're going to make kind of outrageous statements, it just has to be backed by empirical data. But the problem is the empirical data doesn't show that it's white privilege. Our opinions can't really state with reason that it's white privilege. And so ultimately you can end up undermining a cause, Marcellus, when you do play, if we being real, when you do play the race card, if that card don't even need to belong in this game.
I don't think that the card needs to be applied in this game or any games at all. I don't believe in white privilege. And I know that people will say, what are you talking about? Let me explain. The conversation of white privilege is a distraction that leaves racism and true power intact while you now attack it from social and other psychological measures, trying to pull on the emotions of white people and try to guilt them into really trying to say that all of the things that they have inherited, all the things that they have worked for or accumulated, had some percentage of it to be based on their skin color.
That's a fact, though. I don't know if that's an opinion.
No. That's what it's supposed to say.
Okay.
But in reality, we got to look at the devil's in the details.
Talk to me.
There's so many white people walking around here right now that had no connection to slavery, had no connection to our ill past, and are not benefiting from their skin color. Because if on its merits, white privilege would make you assume that everyone white is privileged. Are they? Go between the coastal states.
So that's a great
point. Let's go
point.
fly over.
That is.
Let's look at the poverty rates, poverty numbers.
Point.
Do we really want to go here?
So the point you're making is a phenomenal point, because this is where so many people, Marcellus, missed the mark, and which is why I had a very big issue with someone claiming that this was black privilege. Right. If we're just talking about privilege, that is different. And this is what people, I'm glad you brought that up, because this is what people need to understand. Like, if you're just talking about privilege, that's different. Not every person is privileged, right? Privilege, if you're just taking the basic assumption, privilege by dictionary definition is talking about you are not punished or you are more highly accepted based upon something. So when we just talk loosely about privilege, that's talking about, a status, so to speak. When you're talking about black privilege, which an analyst threw out, that's to say that because you're black, you have benefits. In America, that doesn't happen that often. But like you're saying, you take a plane somewhere, like you go to Nigeria, where my people's from, black privilege exists. What we're talking about, therefore, being white privilege is saying, based on the color of your skin, you may be omitted from certain severities of punishment, or based on the color of your skin, you may be accelerated to some degree of accomplishment. So I think there has to be a delineation, a huge delineation between privilege and black privilege, white privilege, any CEO privilege, hood privilege, any other types of privileges. If me and you growing up, say we grew up in the same era, if I roll with you to Compton, I ain't got that hood privilege. I grew up in Dallas. You feel me? So Marcellus is going to benefit from growing up in the hood, proverbially speaking, over me, because there can also be hood privilege. The privilege is just dependent upon what comes before that word, which is why this is so asinine, because Steve Nash wasn't hired based on the color of his skin.
I love you, but I don't feel you. And what I just heard right there is either A, the phrasing is wrong, white privilege, because it doesn't apply to all white people. Or B, maybe it doesn't really have any merit. So either you mistermed it, or it really doesn't have a place. Now, let's get to the evolution of this phrasing of white privilege. Some say, W.E. Du Bois, going back to those days in the 60s. But I looked it up, and Laura Penny, 1989 is the first time it really entered the lexicon in terms of white privilege. Because I remember growing up, I was like, I never heard anybody talk about white privilege. But now it's the thing to talk about. It's the thing to elicit out of people, especially white people. And what you said is it doesn't apply to all white people. So it's white
privilege doesn't. White privilege does.
White privilege does.
White privilege does.
And then it takes me to you. There's too many white people that are poor. There are too many white people who don't get the benefit of the doubt. So it sounds like in a collision course of any social element, any social interaction, if there's a tie between another group, a black group, and a white group, that the white person would benefit more so.
And I'm saying...
Are you saying that?
I'm saying statistically speaking, for example, and it's only because I've had to take a deep dive into this. Yeah. Statistically speaking, not Emmanuel Acho's opinion, obviously not Marcellus Wiley's opinion. Today's statistically speaking world, person with the black-sounding name, person with the white-sounding name, identical resumes. Person with the white-sounding name is twice as likely to get the job than the person with the black-sounding name. This is not my opinion. This is just simply a statistical fact.
And I said earlier, that's where it lands into psychological and social relations. It doesn't land necessarily with just empirical numbers in terms of poverty rates, in terms of opportunity rates. Look at this. If you're a white person and you're like, okay, I'm supposed to have all this privilege, race and class, as they're integrated, we can't separate the two. But then white people find themselves being outpaced in terms of education, being outpaced in terms of income by many groups. Let's go.
In America?
Yeah. Indonesian, Pakistani, Sri Lankan, Taiwanese, Indian, Filipino Americans. That's just the start. Now, when we say white privilege, I know what we're trying to say. There are some benefits that occur based on race.
But not just benefits. Remember, there's two sides. Two sides,
and
right?
a lack of punishment.
Correct. That's the side I'm saying. Like,
okay, let's focus in.
Right, let's focus in on that. What I am saying is, and I'm trying to keep it on topic while at the same time addressing both topics.
We already know Steve Nash didn't get
y'all know it's hard to do. Yeah. What I am saying is, just because you are white is not saying your life cannot be hard. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is your skin color is not contributing to the difficulty of your life. For example, in America, what we know is being black, being brown, being other can contribute to the difficulty of your life.
And
absolutely.
Today?
I just told you the resumes.
Hold on, but you want to hear another resume? My son, right now, 5 years old, goes to a school. I walk the halls with billionaires. I'm not a billionaire. My son, his name is Marcellus. I don't know what you think that sounds like. Italian, is it? But, but the point of it is...
What's wrong with you?
If I'm going to really use the contrast, if I'm really going to give you the opposite effect, it sounds like if you're going to say white privilege, but it doesn't really capture all the white people. Are we trying to say that the black skin is a sin? That black skin, being black, is also going to contribute to difficulties? Because I don't think anybody wants to go down that road.
But I'm saying
it's not based just on your skin.
I'm saying there are outliers, right? There are outliers. You, sir, are an outlier.
I am not an outlier.
I'm saying if the norm, if you said you're the norm,
I'm actually the rule. Focus, work hard, nose to the grind, all those kind of principles.
Oh,
yes.
Here's the reason I disagree.
Yes.
Here's the reason I disagree. Because I, like you, would like to say the same thing about myself. I'd like to say I focused. I'd like to say I worked hard. I got my 2 degrees. Got another one of my degrees while I was in the NFL.
Got lucky.
No, I don't believe in luck per se.
Yes, you do.
I believe I was blessed. Yeah. But I would say this. That a lot of people work hard. But just because you work hard does not guarantee you success.
It
increases your odds. For sure.
Okay.
But I'm talking about black people.
Okay.
I'm saying a lot of people work hard, but just because you work hard does not guarantee you success. It just increases your likelihood for success. But I grew up east side of Austin, right? So I didn't grow up. I was my last 10 years I spent east side of Austin. East side of Austin was what was called the Negro District. 1928, that's where all the black people were subjected to. The west side of Austin is what you call Westlake. That's where Nick Foles went to high school, Baker Mayfield went to high school, Drew Brees went to high school, Westlake and Lake Travis. You could work equally as hard growing up on the east side as you could on the west side. The only difference is where you were put back in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. If you was black, you was thrown in the Negro district on the east side. The person at Westlake could work just as hard as a person on the east side, and they will not end up at the same destination. That is all I am saying.
Yeah, and so that is more of a class conversation than a race conversation.
But great, I'm glad you... What dictated the class? The race.
Right, but right now, that's why I said, and remember I prefaced all this by saying right now. Steve Nash got hired, what, yesterday? And then it's amazing, every time we talk about these conversations, we got to go rear view mirror. Because we can't go windshield, because if we go in present day, we're going to start to poke holes in these same arguments, these same conditions.
Let me ask you
that
this.
You're speaking of, yes.
Because you're a track dude. You're a track dude. I'm a track dude. It's a sports show, so let's talk sports.
Okay.
Every track meet ends with what race? That 4x400 meter relay. The Olympics, I was so devastated, Marcellus. The Olympics got canceled this year because the Olympics, my favorite event every 4 years. But what I know about that 4x4 relay, and for y'all watching this joint, the 4x400 meter relay, every person runs one lap. Every person, all 4 people, they run one lap, and you hand that baton off to the next person. Then they take that baton and they run and they run and they hand it off to the next person. And they run and they run and they hand it off to the next person. While everybody runs one lap, the success you have in that race is predicated upon who ran that lap before you.
Right.
And so I get to run the same figurative lap that Marcellus gets to run, and that figurative lap is our lifetime. But how I finish is not independent upon how fast I ran. It is actually dependent upon how fast did the person before me run. So when we talk about privilege, black privilege, white privilege, any type of privilege, we can't just look in an isolated, incubated instance of, well, right now it's equal, so everything is equal. We have to remember people ran before us.
I'm glad you said that. So since you're not going to have the present-day argument with me, because even you have to admit, not really supporting white privilege to the fullest as it has in the past. How did they get this lead? Let's go back, and I can play with you. In your terms, in your context, let's go in the past. Doug Stokes of Exeter University points out, stigmatizing an entire ethnic group because of the sins of a small minority is a textbook example of racism. The same thing we're fighting against is the same thing we're going to do in terms of saying white privilege. Oh, well, not all of y'all. Well, not even the ones today. Well, let's go back in time because you got to lead because of it. Let's go back to 1860 when less than 5% of whites in the American South owned slaves. Less than 5%. And then
Are we going to brag about less than 5% owning slaves?
Hold on. These are facts. You took it as a brag? I'm just telling you that over 95% of the people had no investment or economic interest in the maintenance of slavery. All I'm trying to say is I'm not a fan of blanket statements.
Fair. I agree with that.
And I'm a fan.
I agree with that.
And what happened with Stephen A. and many others is they're trying to apply a blanket statement to a nuanced situation.
Correct.
When you're talking about who gets hired, you get hired for a lot of the game within the game.
That's fair.
As much as just your merits. And so what I am not being trivialized and triggered to do is make blanket statements when I'm not going to talk about the details of this.
So here is the issue, I think, with all of this is that so many things, Marcellus, are interconnected. You and I, we can talk so many sports, so let's talk football and we'll revert back to basketball. Football, I believe 32 NFL head coaches, and if I'm not mistaken, 3 of them are black. That's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence.
Oh, I can tell you why it is.
Well, I think it's a couple things. I think we said this before, which is one, cronyism. The definition cronyism, you hire friends. Nepotism, essentially, you hire family. If, historically speaking, NFL head coaches, NFL ownership, NFL management has historically been white, and you don't necessarily hire based off of meritocracy, you hire based off friends and family, and historically you have been white, then you will hire family, which is white, or friends, which is typically white. And in the NBA, like Stephen A. alluded to it, I agreed with 5% of what he said, but the NBA...
Are you bragging about 5%?
I agree with 5% of what he said, but the NBA had 4 black head coaches, or currently 2, because Gentry got fired along with McMillan. He got fired as well. I'm just saying I don't think that is coincidence. If you're talking about leagues that have historically been white, and you were hiring based off nepotism and cronyism, then you will hire those that look like you. I just can't sit here and say, oh, yeah, it's just coincidence that 5% or 10% of NFL head coaches are black, even though 70.4% of the players are black. I just don't believe in that kind of sheer math.
Yeah, no, I want to just end my side of this by saying you also can only choose from what's available. And
that's fair.
Being here as former athletes, let's not lie to the people that a lot of us former athletes choose the camera over the whistle. And to choose the camera, look, duh, you can't argue that.
I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about. Like,
we're choosing the camera over the whistle. And to prepare for your next, you have to do it in the now. Too many of us players don't want to get into coaching, by and large, in general. don't think that's the case, let's bring it back to Steve Nash. Steve Nash, how dare he? We already proved that it's not white privilege. We already proved that more black coaches have gotten an opportunity without experience than white coaches. Now let's talk about the camera versus the whistle. You're talking about the NBA. Where are the coaches? Where are all the black coaches? A lot of them are sitting at desks. Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, Jalen Rose, Jay Williams, Richard Jefferson, Kendrick Perkins. I could keep going. Now, how many white NBA analysts are there? A little few.
But
all I'm saying is, in that choice, in that volume of opportunity, we are not putting our head.
That is fair, but I will also say this, because you and I,
in the NFL.
Yes, you and I are a testament. Let me speak, or a testament to breaking out of a mold. Here's what I mean by that.
And it's okay.
As soon as I got out of ball, I was an analyst. Like you, did you start off as an analyst before you were a host?
Yeah. You corresponded, all that.
Yeah, right. We were correspondents, we were analysts, we was paying our dues. But if you're not careful, a player will be boxed into an analyst role because that is what they perceive you to be. And they try to perceive your limitations as only being an analyst. Remember, I might misspeak here, but you and I should be the first pair of national former players that are also hosting their own show.
Yeah.
That is why I say you and I, at least I will say that we are outliers, saying that if you let people put you in a box, you will exist inside that box. You transcended beyond that box because you worked hard, you're incredibly intelligent, incredibly bright, incredibly determined. I am currently trying to transcend beyond that box because of the same things. However, that box does in fact exist, and if you let them put you in it, they will. That's my only main take.
I respect that, but to climb the pyramid of success where most of the room and most of the people are at the bottom, those attributes you just listed are not outliers. Those are the rules to get up there.
Correct.
And that's what we got to keep in context. Coming up at the top of the hour, LeBron James was called out on social media, and he clapped back in a big way. We'll tell you if we liked it. But first, Cam Newton was finally named starting quarterback in New England. We'll tell you if Bill Belichick is fully committed to him. Next, Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. Oh.
Hey guys, Juju Smith-Schuster here. Probably weird to hear me on this podcast thing when you're used to seeing me do my thing on the field. Football's a huge part of my life, but there's another thing I love, and that's lounging. And there's only one way to do it, while wearing MeUndies, baby. I love MeUndies because they're just comfortable overall. I've never had an underwear where I can wear it throughout the day and then don't even have to go change into tights to work out. I've done actual workouts in just my undies. It makes my life simple. With MeUndies, I feel like you can pretty much do everything to make all sorts of stuff. Undies, loungewear, and the best onesies. And guys, the stuff is soft, like softer than my dog Bougie's baby butt soft. After taking hits on the field all day, that softness feels like actual heaven. Sign up for their membership, as you can get undies delivered right to your door every month with all sorts of perks, site-wide sales, free shipping, and seriously, did I mention their onesies? It's like zipping up happiness all over your body. MeUndies has a great offer for all of you guys. First-time purchases get 50% off and free shipping. Go to MeUndies.com/sports. That's MeUndies.com/sports.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. Now, we are less than a week away from the start of the NFL season. Let's go. And Cam Newton was finally named starting quarterback in New England. His teammates also voted him as one of the team captains. And earlier this week, head coach Bill Belichick praised this new quarterback, saying, quote, "Nobody works harder than Cam does." Welcome in, L.A. LeVar, good to see you, my brother. But Marcellus, going to you first.
Let's do it.
Do you think Bill Belichick is fully committed to Cam Newton?
Fully committed to Cam Newton, absolutely. Bill Belichick has been, what they say is his toes have been curled by Cam Newton just coming into camp. And remind yourself, this is just since June 28th he was signed. July 8th he signed his contract. That fast, not only is Cam Newton the starting quarterback, but one of the offensive team captains. And he's done it the right way, the way you always have to do it, by grinding, putting your work in, and having tremendous energy. Listen to Bill Belichick when he says Cam Newton works on things, but not just the things he's good at, the things he's bad at. My coach used to tell us that in like junior high school. Work on your left-hand layups. What are those? The things that you're not so good at. And that's what Cam Newton is doing and making an impression on Bill Belichick. He says Cam wants to be first in everything, not just on the field, but everything. And let's talk about Cam Newton in his first opportunities when he goes somewhere. It's time for the full screen king.
Full screen king.
Cam Newton in his first year starting with a new team. Let's go back to Blaine College. What'd he do? Oh, he won a national championship. Then he went to Auburn. What'd he do? Win the Heisman Trophy and a national championship. Carolina Panthers. What'd he do? Broke NFL rookie records for passing yards, total yards, and touchdowns. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like Cam Newton. But Bill Belichick is in love with Cam Newton and everything he's seen. And it's only been 2 months, and the sky's the limit.
Is Belichick fully committed? This reminds me of 2007. I take a trip to the University of Texas. I drive down I-35 from Dallas, Texas, where I'm born and raised, to Austin, Texas. I'm sitting
East Austin or West?
Central.
Here we go. Where your privilege
There's a Central. There's a Central. So I'm sitting in Mack Brown, College Football Hall of Fame head coach Mack Brown's office, head coach at the time, and he looks at me. I got my brother to my left. I got my parents to my right. Mack Brown says, Acho, we want to offer you a scholarship to the University of Texas. Will you commit? I look at him, and I'm like, I can't commit because I had other options. I was trying to go to Michigan. You see, I wasn't fully committed, Marcellus, because I had other options. Bill Belichick is, in fact, fully committed, not necessarily because he wants to be fully committed, but Bill Belichick ain't got no other options. Who he gonna commit to? Jarrett Stidham? Can't do that. Brian Hoyer, 0-7 in his last 7 starts. So Bill Belichick is looking around like, okay, I got Cam. Cam does look really good. Cam is promising, but I ain't got nobody else. So you know what? I'm all in because he has no other person or no other place to be all into. He is fully committed. I do think Cam can and will ball. I'm not convinced Bill Belichick is fully committed completely on his own innate desire as opposed to because there are no other options. But nonetheless, to answer the question, Bill Belichick, he fully in on Cam.
He is fully in on him. Yes, he is certainly full and committed.
Look at LeVar changing it up.
Hercules.
Hey, 2020 hindsight, I got to give you guys credit, and I got to give Bill Belichick credit for this. He understood the presence and the impact of Cam Newton. Look at him on this film right here. The amount of confidence that he has going through his exercises, his warm-ups. He came in, and you know what? Bill Belichick said, I'm in need of an undisputed leader. The day he brought Cam in, he had the biggest, most influential personality that could possibly come in on the team. Not just at the position, not just on the offensive side of the ball. So naturally, yes, Bill Belichick bringing him there, knowing what Cam represents, was a total buy-in. And I have to say, I was incorrect on assessing it the way that I did originally.
Now, y'all make sure y'all cut that part, that I was incorrect on assessment.
Yeah.
We're going to want to run that back Monday, Marcellus?
Yeah. I take it all week. It doesn't matter just one. Yeah. Look, I still try to go with that old Chris Rock line. Man is as faithful as his options.
What happened?
And nothing is absolute in this world. That sounds right, unless the first thing you encounter is the thing you should commit to in the first place. Like, look, Jarrett Stidham's already on a roster, but you go out there and still get a Cam Newton. So I understand that you may have your question marks against Jarrett Stidham, who's only thrown 4 NFL passes in his career. I get that. But then when you see Cam Newton, y'all been there. I was single before. And you walk in a club, and you're a little early. You're there about 11. You shouldn't be there at 11. This is L.A., so, you know, we close at 2. You shouldn't be there at 11 if you're somebody, they say. I was like, forget that. If I'm paying this much for this table,
I'm on time.
I'm getting all 3 of my hours in. And you ever go in there at 11 o'clock, and you can just see all the people coming in. You start to see the room pack in, and then you see her. And you're like, it's only 11:26.
What she look like? What she look like?
She look like, it ain't going to be nothing better. That's what she look like. Oh, my goodness. And it's early. And I never, like, do I commit to put myself out there for the world to see that this is the moment? But you know what you got to do sometimes. I don't give a damn what your options are, because 12 o'clock is coming, 1 o'clock is coming. Those are options, but look at her. So you commit to that situation.
Marcellus lying?
I am not lying. Boy, I was in love. I was a sucker for love. Anyway, let's get back to this topic right here. Dynasty. 20 years, Belichick's been married to Tom Brady and created a dynasty. Tom Brady departs. The amazing fortune to go from one MVP and GOAT in quarterback to another MVP has never happened in football, right? The only one I can even think of is the 49ers that went from Joe Montana, GOAT, to Steve Young, who was not an MVP at the time. But we lost our mind talking about, oh, Steve Young about to kill it, which he did, and which we knew he would. But how come we're going to be so reluctant, LeVar, Acho, to give Cam Newton his props when he's starting off at a better place than even Steve Young
I'm going to tell you why, Marcellus. Pick the mic back up.
Was it white privilege again?
Nah, here's what it is.
What?
Everything you just painted out made Cam Newton look like a rebound. Okay, you just talked about how Tom Brady was in this long relationship with Bill Belichick. You said yourself you're a sucker for love, a lover boy, sir. What happens after you get out of them long-distance relationships, Marcellus? You're craving. You need some compassion. You need somebody to hold you. You need somebody to talk to, complain to, whisper sweet nothings in their ear.
No, pillow talk.
And he pillow talking. Marcellus, you got me worried now because now you making Cam Newton seem like it's just a rebound. Like, this might not be real. This might just be like, you know what? I just got out of a relationship. Tom Brady, he's happy. He's with Bruce Arians. He looks good now. He lost some weight. He worked out. He's in the Sunshine State. I need mines too.
Acho, I've been to several weddings, and all of them except two got divorced. You know the two that are still married?
Who that?
The ones that got married, met and got married in 3 months, and the other ones that got married, met in 6 months. Like, we always get into this misconception that it got to take time and you got to really know. And sometimes it's just like, wow. You're like, oh, that's it. It's a wrap. Belichick has seen enough quarterbacks to know what a great quarterback is. Why he got to go out there and date and play the role and play the game? That's why you still single. You still out here playing the games, and I'm sure the women are saying that to you. Acho, step the game up, bro.
Something else to consider here, fellas, is that Stidham now becomes a professional backup quarterback. So in this scenario, you better hope that Cam can stay healthy and continue to carry this team, because Stidham could be damaged goods now. I mean, that could play a little bit on your mental, thinking that you're going to be the guy, and then Cam comes, and then there you go. So hopefully Cam stays healthy and getting that full buy-in.
I hope Cam stays healthy, because here's what we know. You got a healthy Cam with a top 10 scoring defense, like happened in Carolina, 2013, 12-4, playoffs, 2015, they go all the way to the Super Bowl. But I'm still not convinced that Bill Belichick wasn't just desperate, looked around and said, give me that rebound. Coming up, they're building a super team in Tampa. You know that's Tom Brady's new team. And now they're calling them the Golden State Bucs? We'll tell you if the hype train has gone off the rails. That's next. Speak for yourself. Presented by Hyundai.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself, presented by Hyundai. Let's head to Tampa, where expectations were already through the roof when the team signed Tom Brady. Those expectations got even bigger when the Bucs signed Leonard Fournette this week. And Steelers tight end Eric Ebron even compared the Bucs' loaded roster to the Golden State Warriors championship team with Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. Woo. Ebron called them the Golden State Bucs, adding some emojis, since you always have to add emojis.
You got to, bro.
You got to do it. I do it all the time. Always a laughing one. All right, joined now once again by LeVar Arrington. Acho, let's start with you. Will the Golden State Bucs deliver on the hype?
No, sir. And this is one of them topics, fellas, I don't even need my notes, because this is just like if we at the barbershop chopping it up. I don't need
most of your topics. You don't need
That's facts. I don't go to them notes. I rely on my common sense. They're not going to deliver on the hype, but because what is the hype? The hype is now this Golden State Bucs. Remember, what Golden State do? Okay, let's go back to 2016. They set the NBA record for most wins in a season. The Bucs not finna go 16-0 like Brady's old Patriots. They not about to run the table. Golden State, we do know, lost in that Super Bowl. Tom Brady's Patriots, we also know, lost in that Super Bowl. Okay, what happened after the Golden State team that they went down there and they lost in the NBA Finals? Well, they won back-to-back chips. Tampa, they likely not going to win back-to-back chips. If I'm taking the field or the Buccaneers, I got to take the field. The hype is too large. The hype hasn't necessarily outweighed the talent, but here's what we're doing, and y'all track with me. We're banking on three things. Number one, a 43-year-old quarterback. We're also banking on number two, a tight end who didn't play football last year. We're also banking on number three, a head coach who hasn't been to the Super Bowl. Oh, let me add a fourth thing. Again, no notes. I'm just coming off top of my head. We're banking on a running back who a team in the Jacksonville Jaguars released and said, you know what? We have no use for you now. One man's trash is another man's treasure. So I'm not going to down Fournette because I think Fournette is a dog. But we're banking on too many ambiguous and uncertain things. For that reason, while the Bucs will make the playoffs and be legit, the hype will outweigh the accomplishments.
Wow. You didn't use your notes and said all that?
You know what I'm saying, bro.
And now I'm looking at my notes, and I shouldn't say any of this because, boy, you smoked my argument. But let me still go out there and earn this paycheck. It is Friday. We get paid every 2 weeks. Today's the day. All right. I'm going to make an argument why they are going to live up to the hype, and this is going to be a simple argument. One, you have a fully loaded roster. And I know a lot of our focus on the offensive side, and we can go through that and bore you again, but Acho just did most of that. Let's talk about the defense. Let's talk about the defense that's emerging. Let's talk about in the last 8 weeks of the season, top 5 in takeaways, 3rd in yards allowed. Talking about a defense that's going to actually support the offense. And let's talk about that offense that was 3rd in points, and then they were 3rd also in yardage, but they had Jameis Winston with the turnovers, we all understand, and they also had a rushing attack. The last 3 years, actually, that rushing attack last in the NFL in yards per carry, 3.7. So now they have Fournette, Ronald Jones, and even LaShawn McCoy. They have balance on the offense that was already number 3, and a defense that's emerging to become a top 5 defense potentially this year. Oh, now what's going to mix those ingredients and give us a special sauce?
You better add some sugar.
I wonder what's going to come in.
You better add some brown sugar because I don't know.
A lot of sugar. And his name is Tom Brady Sugar. And Tom Brady shows up. And Tom Brady is not just a GOAT. Tom Brady is not just a guy that comes in and is going to be your leader. He's a cultural enforcer. He's a guy who's going to come in and say, this is the right way to do these things. Already working with guys on the team. O.J. Howard talked about how he used to run his routes the wrong way. Tom Brady said, look, stop looking back for the ball. The ball's supposed to meet you, brother. Simple details in which Tom Brady's already helping this offense and helping this entire team's culture and mindset. Will they be the Golden State Warriors? In football terms, they have an opportunity, but we never can make the literal translation from basketball to football. That's where I think you went wrong, Acho.
Y'all remember Flavor Flav?
Flavor Flav.
Don't believe the hype. You can't believe the hype on this one. I'm not going with it. You got to think about this. If you're trying to compare them to the KD Golden State Warriors, all right, you're talking about a team that had already won championships before KD came in. That crosses Tampa Bay off. Because you don't have the credibility of saying that, well, we've been winning, but so now we're bringing in Tom Brady. We're going to be that much better. So let's just strike, the whole Golden State Bucs deal out. That's. I'm going to give you a comparable, though.
Okay. Think
about 99, 2000. I'm going to make this real personal, all right? The football team in Washington, they go 10-6 in 99, finish first in the NFC East, winning the wild card, lose to Tampa Bay, ironically enough, and they were riding high. Due to a trade for Ricky Williams, LeVar Arrington, and Chris Samuels comes to Washington, D.C. You add in free agency Deion Sanders, Mark Terrier, Bruce Smith. Hey, look here. You're talking about sugar because I didn't heard sugar in person, right? So here's the thing. There's no continuity. There's one guy that was brought in that free agency class, Jeff George. We had Brad Johnson as our starter. It's kind of like we had Jameis Winston as our starter, and we were doing well. Then we said, you know what? We're going to get rid of you, Jameis, and we're going to bring in somebody else. They actually benched Brad Johnson for Jeff George during that 2000 season. You know what our record was? 8-8. You know what we finished in the NFC East?
What?
Number 3. We dropped 2 spots out of the top spot. Not one. We wasn't close. We went all the way down. There's only 4 teams in the East. It ain't going to work out.
Well, LeVar, y'all built it a lot differently than they're building it. Jeff George, Tom Brady, let's not do that. You were a rookie. Chris Samuel, tremendous players, but rookies. Like, the Tampa Bay Bucs are not going out there and saying we're going to build this house on things that we don't know about. They're building it on actually people that you respect and have reputations for putting in work in the NFL. So
but you know what, though? If we going old school and we going old school sports and we talking hoops, what about, what was it, Marcellus, that 03 Lakers team? You had the glove.
Oh, don't do it.
You had Karl Malone.
They were old and dusty.
You had Shaq and you had the late Kobe Bryant. Them boys had a squad, 4 future Hall of Famers. Surely they was going to win a chip. Surely they was going to win a chip, Marcellus. What happened? Them Pistons.
Yes.
Them Pistons
and them
came
injuries,
around them. That injury.
Okay.
But what happens when you get old people like Tom Brady? Them injuries start to pile up on you now.
Quarterbacks
I was feeling a little sore this morning. You know, Tom and I were in the same draft, so I'm sure he's feeling a few more aches and pains than me right now.
You know what? I am going to ride with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know it's not a literal translation, Golden State dynasty. And be real, Golden State didn't win every year with KD and Steph because of injuries as well. So outside of injuries, I see the situation working out fine just for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Coming up, the Cowboys need a safety, and Earl Thomas is still floating around there. We'll tell you if Dallas should sign the future Hall of Famer. Next, speak for yourself, presented by Hyundai.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Let's head to my hometown of Dallas, where the Cowboys released safety, Clinton Dix, after signing him in March. The move has, chill out, Marcellus. Let me get through my read. The move has some thinking a roster spot will go to another safety. That's the great Earl Thomas. Stephen Jones said that decision wasn't made because of Thomas, but he didn't close the door either, saying, quote, I wouldn't rule anything out. L.A. back with us, but Marcellus, I got to go to you. Do you like Stephen Jones keeping the door open? Earl Thomas.
I don't like him keeping the door open. I'd rather look, man, I'm not built on someone who's going to be trivial in a moment like this. And I know why he's doing it, but at the same time, I think you should have conviction, especially in leadership when moments like this present itself. But who am I to say that? Because it benefits the Dallas Cowboys tremendously to play the game just this way. It keeps them in the news cycle. It keeps them full of attention, which has translated to them being, what, the highest value franchise in all of sports? So who am I to talk about this? But the same way there's a separation of church and state, there should be a separation of team and business. Like, this is helping the business of the Dallas Cowboys, but it's really not helping the team in any way, because if Earl Thomas is coming in the door, you want to know that as a player. If he's not coming in the door, you kind of want to know that as well, because if you look at this situation, there are other guys who are slotted to be there. Xavier Woods, Darian Thompson. Like, those guys, do you really need to create another level of anxiety outside of just being in the NFL and having a star on your helmet? So it translates for them in terms of business, but I don't like it in terms of team building.
Here's what I need. I need the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, all y'all Joneses. I need y'all to keep the door open, keep the lights on, pull out the chair, take out the silverware, set the plate, and let Earl Thomas come in and dine. Cowboys fans, what I cannot stand, and I'm sure y'all can't either, stop complaining about a problem that has a clear-cut solution. For years, the Cowboys have been complaining about not having a safety. And again, Marcellus has taken the throne of full-screen king, so I'm simply a full-screen prince. Full screen, please. Okay. The last time the Cowboys had a Pro Bowl safety, Low by Flo Rida was the #1 song. I was a senior in high school, and Marcellus, you, sir, weren't a host of a show. You were an Arena Football League analyst.
Philadelphia Soul.
Philadelphia Soul.
Stuff like that.
Since then, Earl Thomas has been to the most Pro Bowls of any safety in the National Football League, being 7. The Cowboys, y'all continue to complain about not having top-tier safeties. Last time was Roy Williams, Ken Hamlin in 07. You were about to trade a second-round pick for Earl Thomas just 2 years ago. Now you can get Earl Thomas for the cheap, and you gonna sit here and say, nah, we don't need Earl Thomas. We don't really have any other safeties that we love, but we surely don't love this future Hall of Famer either. Make it make sense, Jerry. Make it make sense, Steven. Honestly, Charlotte, you can make it make sense for me, too. I just need one of the Joneses, anybody in that Jones family. Please, make it make sense.
Come to the table, Charlotte. Speak some sense into it. Hey, listen, Ancho, that was pretty fly, man. I got to be honest with you there. I tend to think that this is a great move. It's a great decision. And the reason why is, listen, you got Dak Prescott, who is one of the most revered in the game right now. And he's playing on a franchise tag. So this is posturing. They don't want to have to pay. You talking about getting him on the low, but you sitting there driving his price tag up on the high. I know what you're doing there. I get that whole alumni deal. I appreciate it. but listen, I think that this is right. You do not want to overpay in a situation where you could possibly finagle it and get it for the low. And I don't think they know yet, Marcellus. To tell the team that they're going to sign Earl Thomas would be to mean that you're going to be prepared to pay what it is that they offer. And I don't think that they're prepared to do that. So this is posturing of sorts.
Yeah, I respect the process of posturing because who knows what Earl Thomas is still commanding. Look, he is still a Pro Bowler and he still has a name value and still has game. So maybe he's not sitting there saying I'm vet minimum or anything close to that.
Right.
But also, you have to show at least the perception, if you're not going to turn in your work, that you at least did your homework. And when you don't have conviction in these moments, it just seems like you haven't done your homework. Like I told you guys about the 2 draft war rooms I saw. The one was for the prospects coming out of college. The other one was for active players. They already have our names slotted. Clinton Dix is gone. You know who we could just put in there if we don't start the ones that are already on the roster. So I just like smoother transactions than this. But to your point, make it make sense, Acho. It does for the Dallas Cowboys. It makes dollars and cents. They're worth $5.5 billion in a place where the land is cheap. The land of $30,000 millionaires. I used to live in Dallas. I get it. Everybody out there bossing.
Can I interject something?
Yeah, something, LA.
Let me add to the conversation here. This may put it in a little bit more perspective as well. They may not feel the need to pursue purely based upon the feeling of what players they already have. I mean, let's be clear here, right? Our guy Ezekiel Elliott says this might be the most talented team that I've played on since I've been here. So they're pretty high on what they think their talent level is. And I'm assuming that didn't include, losing, Clinton Dix. So I don't feel as though they're in a desperate situation where it's like, we got to bring in Earl or it's not going to be a season. So I think it's I think they're pretty high on thinking they're a contender already.
Well, LeVar, all it takes is we're evaluating him like all prospects and you move forward. But keeping the door open is more of a conversation to help your bottom line more so than building your team.
That's fair.
This is my biggest problem, and Cowboys fans, I'll calm down. Let me bring my blood pressure down. Charlotte, I didn't mean to bring you into this conversation.
Hey, Charlotte.
You're a sweet woman. Here's the issue. I have some AirPods. The headphones that you put into your ears, the Bluetooth ones. I love them. But the problem was my right AirPod had started to spaz out on me. It would have a high-pitched tone. And I would sit there and I would complain about it, when the fact of the matter is I could have just gone to the store and gotten another one instead of complaining about it. The Cowboys for the last decade and change since I was in high school, complaining about not having a safety.
That is true.
Just go to free agency and pick one up in Earl Thomas. Simple as that, Cal.
Some old-ass AirPods, though.
Coming up in our big story,
31.
LeBron was kicking it in the bubble, minding his own business. He was called out on social media. We'll tell you if we liked his response. Hint, I did. That's next.
Earl
Speak
Thomas.
for yourself.
Fox Sports Films presents Tua, a new documentary from the Sports Emmy-nominated Magnified series. Follow quarterback Tua.
Tonga Vailoa.
I see you, big man. As he attempts to overcome a career-threatening injury and rise as one of the most uniquely skilled players in the history of the game. Tua premieres Sunday, September 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern on Fox. So, Acho, what are your expectations for Tua this year?
Man, as a college football analyst last year, Tua, one of the best quarterback prospects I've ever seen. If healthy, assuming he is healthy, I think we'll have a phenomenal season. Surprise a lot of the naysayers.
Echo that. He looks like one of the best you've ever seen at that level. Hopefully it translates. Let's move on to our big story in the NBA. All right, stay with me here. This all started when Richard Jefferson said Giannis might be a Scottie Pippen who needs a Michael Jordan. Well, Jay Williams took it further, tweeting LeBron James was a Pippen with Dwayne Wade once. Ooh, well, as expected, that didn't go over well with the King. He tweeted this response, quote, "Explain to me what the bleep I gotta do with this subject matter. I'm over here minding my damn business, preparing for Houston. And by the way, I ain't never been nobody but my damn self." Then he added a crown emoji and another bleep to finish his
King.
Acho.
You should have said it. At least you should have said King bleep.
Ooh.
You feel me? It feels a little strong. Yeah.
All right, so you like the
I don't have as much baritone in my voice, but I love LeBron's response, man. I love it. Not just like it. Marcellus, I just moved to Cali. You know this, to do this show with you, which I love every single day, sitting on this set. But what I've learned about being in California, bro, y'all got tragic wildfires out here, right? And I'm like, yo, what's going down with these wildfires? And I had to figure out, do they start wild how's it really start? And I looked down, I looked, and I said, most wildfires can start with something as simple as a small spark from a train's car wheel striking the track, and it turns into a raging wildfire. You see, Jay Williams' tweet, that was about to be a small spark of some nonsense, calling LeBron a number 2. That was about to be a small spark of some nonsense trying to call LeBron Robin at any point in his career. LeBron said, you know what? I'm focused on Houston. I'm focused on these Rockets, but I'm always mindful of my legacy. And I got to make sure I shoot down any nonsense when I see it. Now, kudos to Jay Williams, because LeBron ain't responding to everybody, you feel me? If LeBron is responding to you, it's because he acknowledges your existence as a quality analyst. Yeah. I think Jay Williams, one of the best analysts that's out there on TV right now. So when he says something, it sticks. LeBron realizes, hold on now. You're going to put some respect on my name. I love his response, bro, because if LeBron doesn't acknowledge that, then the world and lazy media, other NBA analysts or writers will be like, oh, yeah, you're kind of right. LeBron was a number 2 at some point. LeBron wasn't nobody's number 2.
See, I would love to love this, but I just...
You like it?
I'm in like with it.
Okay,
I'm not in love with it.
I'll take it.
And I understand why I'm in like with it and not in love with it, because he is the king, because he is LeBron James. And every shot that he sees and feels and takes from anybody walking this planet, his response feels like a punch down. He's like, you got to understand where LeBron is coming from in terms of what's on his calendar, what he has to do in the day, who he is, being the king, father, husband, all that stuff, on top of being a mogul, billionaire to make it, like everything. And then he hears the criticism, and he's like, do I really want to go there? What they say, don't argue with fools, because from a distance they can't tell who's who. And Jay Williams is not a fool, but what he said may be foolish.
Fair.
So you're sitting there and you're LeBron James saying, do I clap back? But where I'm from, if you're going to clap back, clap, damn it. Don't. He clapped. He didn't clap? Throwing profanities out there.
That counts as clapping.
Nah, all right, I'm going to give you the example.
Talk to me.
Here's the GOAT of clapping back.
Okay.
We just saw it yesterday. Scottie Pippen. Yo! First of all, that was all-time defense on defending your name and reputation. Scottie Pippen is an all-time defender on his rep. Richard Jefferson had the nerve to say something about Scottie Pippen. Imagine you in a classroom and Richard Jefferson on the other side, and he's like, Scottie Pippen. Scottie got out of his seat, walked over to that desk and said,
wait.
You know where I'm going. I ain't him, and he ain't me. But who are you?
Who are you?
And Richard Jefferson sitting in his seat like hoping the teacher just break this up, right? That's how you handle something. If you're going to clap.
Here's my problem, though, bro.
I'm not done, bro.
Talk to me.
But this is what LeBron did in the same class. He saw Jay Williams over there in the corner. So LeBron James. And LeBron said, hey, what you say? Meet me at the flagpole at 3 o'clock. Now, the reason why you want to meet at the flagpole at 3 o'clock, you kind of soften it, because you really want your teachers to break it up between then and 3 o'clock. LeBron didn't really want the smoke back because he can't clap back because he can't punch down.
No, bro.
Come on, man.
You're looking at this the wrong way, my dog.
Gangster with this. I know how to run some fights.
You're looking at this the wrong way. Let me tell y'all why. Scottie Pippen, he took a shot below the belt. It was unnecessary. Like, Richard Jefferson, when he said yesterday, he said, he was talking about Giannis, for them in context. He was talking about Giannis. He said, Giannis is more of a Pippen than he is a Jordan. Pippen took offense to that. Y'all see it. Pippen took offense to that,
but he wasn't even clap.
See, but my thing is, Scottie Pippen, he came in here and went, who can? Like, he hit him with a real shot. LeBron wasn't really trying to clown Jay.
Okay, I respect that because he respects Jay. Maybe Pippen doesn't respect Richard Jefferson. That's what we just got to.
Who are you?
But let's bring in our guy, Fox NBA analyst, Slick Rick the Bucher. Settle this for us, Slick Rick. Do you like LeBron's response to being called a Pippen to Dwayne Wade?
Hell no. And you know what I really don't like
What's up?
You guys have given me so much work, and I don't have enough time.
Oh, yes, you do. You got 5 minutes at least. Go.
Show for me to get this work done.
Talk to me.
First of all, Jay Williams was exactly right. When LeBron went to Miami, he was the Robin to Dwayne Wade's Jordan, to his Batman. That's the reality. Was he the most talented player? Yes, without question. But D. Wade was the alpha dog. And it wasn't until they lost to Dallas and Wade realized, I'm at a point in my career where I can't be that guy. I need LeBron to step up. And essentially what we're talking about with Giannis and with LeBron is not most talented. It is, can he be that closer? Can he be that guy that we go to at the end of games? And Wade knew that LeBron had to be that guy for them in order for them to win a championship. And so he worked all year, that second year, to say, LeBron, be everything that you can be. So there was that transition. Jay Williams is exactly right. And he's giving LeBron kudos for making that switch. Now, the second part, LeBron takes issue with comparisons. Oh, really? You weren't having problems with comparisons when it was Michael Jordan or it was Magic Johnson. Now suddenly we have an issue, the fact that your name is being brought up and being discussed with other all-time greats. And the third part ultimately is, how are you having an issue with being compared to a guy who's back-to-back league MVP without a ring in a small market who's about to become a free agent? There is nobody who better reflects where you were at the end of your Cleveland career than Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee right now. This tweet has all kinds of wrong things about it. And you guys took a hard left turn right from the beginning by saying that Jay Williams was wrong when he was actually right.
Slick, you know I respect you because I let you finish in the midst of that blasphemy and those asinine statements.
It's not blasphemy.
Slick, let me say this first and foremost. This isn't just for you. This is for the world. The problem is y'all mistake being an alpha or a lack thereof for having respect. I came on this show two months ago. I wouldn't say I'm not an alpha. I wouldn't say I'm not a type A. I wouldn't say I'm not a dominant personality. But this was Marcellus's show. He done been at this joint. So what do I say? I say, hey, big dog, you want to do these prompter reads? You do these prompter reads. This your show. Hey, Marcellus, how you feel about this? How you feel about that? This your show. I'm just trying to be here for right now. It's the same thing with LeBron getting to Miami. This is D-Wade's team. LeBron had more points. LeBron had more boards. LeBron had more assists. LeBron was a better player. LeBron was just showing some reverence to a person that had already been there for 7 years, an entire near decade, half decade. So I'm not going to call LeBron a non-alpha for being a respectful human being, just like I wouldn't call me a non-alpha for being a respectful human being. Come on, Slick. I love that boy.
But what does Robin do to Batman? Robin, in his own way, had some tricks. Robin, in his own way, was a superhero.
But Robin is limited.
Robin
is first and foremost. See, here I had to unbutton. First and foremost,
well, if y'all know comic books, Batman limited too.
The problem is, Robin, first off, he don't even got them same muscles.
Nah,
it's Batman. You see, Batman got a strong jaw. Yeah. Batman got a neck. Batman been doing shoulder shrugs, okay? Batman got some biceps, and Robin just don't have. And you see, I had to unbutton so y'all could see I'm much more of a Batman, okay? Y'all stop talking about me on this show, Slick.
I'm a fat-ass Robin, too. Let me alone. Slick. I got to say, Slick Rick is factually, you're correct, even though I think there's some conjecture that layers on top of those facts. Here's the thing. You have to defer to Dwayne Wade. You have to show reverence. He's a champion. LeBron James wasn't a champion when he went to Miami. And then it's his house. So it's like, y'all can say we got 2 master bedrooms, but Dwayne Wade's picking the one that he wants, and you get the other master bedroom. And that all changed in dynamic and in terms of their interaction once they lost the first year. They said, let's remix the formula. I respect all of that. I have no problem really factually with what was said in either one of these tweets and the responses and the smoke. I'm just saying, LeBron, if you're going to step in it, step into it.
But LeBron's a nice guy,
No. I used to take boxing lessons over there, Wild Card. Shout out to Freddie Roach and my boy Ernie, all them. And I used to throw punches. I'm 280 pounds doing this. And then they used to always say, that's a hard punch, but put your hip into it. LeBron shot back without putting his hips into it. And that's why I didn't like LeBron's response to the criticism.
He also shot back. It read like a personal text to Jay Williams. it didn't read like a statement. It read like, I'm talking to you. I almost feel as if he forgot which platform he was writing on, and he thought he was texting him, and it was actually a tweet. Because, like, the gratuitous profanity, like, what's that? Like, you drop that at the end. You do that when you're talking to your boys. You don't do that when you're talking to the world.
Hey,
and by the way,
oh, yeah, go ahead.
What happened to this focus on we don't want distractions, and we're going for a championship?
I'm address that, Slick.
And now we're going to punch down.
What is it? Zero Dark 23?
I'm address that, Slick. I'm address that. See, look, LeBron can be bi-focused. What do I mean, Slick? LeBron is focused on this chip. You saw what he said? He said, I'm over here minding my bleep business, preparing for Houston. He was focused. But if I'm focused on something, Slick, and something comes trotting in my line of sight, I'm going to address this nonsense so I can get back to my focus. He was focused, Slick. He just had to handle some nonsense real quick. King bleep.
And that's okay for a Robin.
Oh.
He can go off and he can fight that side fight.
Oh.
But Batman realizes that he's the leader of all of Gotham. And you know what? It may be okay for me to focus on two things, but if I do this, if I engage in social media, if I take a rip from a commentator, you know what? That gives Kyle Kuzma license to do the same thing, and JaVale McGee. And it just creates a distraction that is unnecessary. As I said at the beginning, first of all, Jay was right in what he said and meant it as a compliment because he evolved into a Batman. He was talking about how far LeBron came.
He was born a Batman. I was born in the dark.
Bruce Willis. What's his name? Bruce Willis or something?
I'm gonna leave that to the side. The comic book characters I'm gonna put to the side. But the bottom line is it was meant ultimately as a compliment. And now we have this back and forth. Acho, I'm a storyteller, and I loved your analogy at the very beginning. It's a match in the basement when Jay Williams says this. You can see it, but it's about to go out. LeBron responds to it, and now the entire house is on fire. And I don't know that you want a house on fire when you're going for a championship.
Yeah, we talked earlier in the block when we were talking about privilege, and I told you my son goes to school with these 3 billionaires, and 2 of them are black, and one of them I stopped and talked to for a while, and they told me I'm not on social media for one reason and one reason only, because I can't go there. Like, if I can't go there fully, I don't want to even participate in it. So, LeBron James, if you're going to say it with your chest, or don't say it at all. Coming up, we'll tell you if the rest of the league was put on notice after the Clippers blew out the Nuggets. Next, Slick Rick won that argument. You all right?
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. I know Marcellus was a happy man last night. Chill out, Marcellus. His Clippers blew out the Nuggets in Game 1. Kawhi Leonard, bad man, dropped 29 points, becoming the first player since Michael Jordan with at least 29 in his first 7 games of a postseason.
Oh, really?
Joined once again by the slickest and the rickest. Good to see you back. But, Marcellus, did your Clippers send a message with their Game 1 win?
What they say? Message? Yes. I only have one phrase for this. Clip City, Chip City.
Oh, God.
Enough said. This team is on a mission. Y'all get out the way.
You know what, Marcellus, I'm going to give you this one, bro. I'm going to give you this one. They did send a message, man. Everything Marcellus had been bragging, preaching, praying, hoping, crying, begging, wishing, pleading for, it finally came to fruition.
I told you.
Okay, the Clippers top 8, they balled. The bench that Marcellus has been bragging about, they balled. Double digits from the bench. The starters, Kawhi, PG, played a great game even though he didn't score. Marcus Morris, walking bucket. All of them balled. Kawhi shut down Murray after Murray said, I had 50, 42, and 50 in my last series. Kawhi said, I'm tired of that. Ain't none of that. Yes, the Clippers sent a
best performance of the playoffs, yes.
Biggest statement made on this show is the fact that Acho clearly has some influence on it, because otherwise this would have been the top story. This would have been the lead story of the entire show if it was up to Marcellus.
I'm trying to fight him.
Look, it was an impressive performance, but the reality is, what statement are we talking about? That the Clippers are the best team in the NBA? That they're the team to beat?
Yeah.
No, I can't take that from this performance because I've seen performances like this from the Clippers, and I've seen it against teams that are in better shape than the Denver Nuggets, who 48 hours ago were just eking out a Game 7 win.
Got a point, Marcellus.
Just one.
We're clearly exhausted. The Clippers didn't have to play 48 minutes. They had to play maybe 24 at the most, and the reality is they didn't so much come out and put their foot on the neck of the Denver Nuggets. They simply let all that fatigue take effect, and it was 31-31 after the first quarter, and then it just simply started to get away from the Denver Nuggets. The statement made, if anything, is that the Clippers are a terrible matchup for the Denver Nuggets, particularly coming off of a Game 7, and that if there's another statement, maybe we anointed Jamal Murray as a superstar just a little too fast based on that last series. But look, I'm glad to see the Clippers at full strength, but it's not as if this was an overwhelming performance or one that I haven't seen before. If they sweep the series, now there's a statement, because that will show the consistency and the focus for a prolonged period, which is what we've been missing from them.
Oh, you're going to make me do an actual take here. And it's going to be quick. It's not going to be as quick as Clip City, Chip City, but full strength. I'm glad you mentioned that. And this team is 8-1 when they're fully loaded. So you project that out to an entire season. If we could have stayed fully loaded and healthy, 72-win team. Anyway, we are a mismatch for the Denver Nuggets. Also a mismatch for the Lakers. Also a mismatch for the Rockets. That's why I think it's going to be smooth sailing to the finals. And we know once we see whoever comes out the East, the West will be the favorite. Clippers, we're not mailing it in anymore. We're not just going to put the uniforms on and just say, hey, guaranteed W. We found out the hard way with a few lacerations from Dallas. We're not going to play that game anymore. We are fully activated. The rest of the league is on notice.
Here is my problem, Slick. If I can be honest, it's just me talking to you. Pretend Marcellus isn't here.
Hey, wait.
Marcellus makes it so hard to like the Clippers because of the arrogance, because of the ego, because of the confidence. He makes it so hard, Slick. If I can just vent to you, bro. Honestly, I was hoping the Clippers were going to lose.
Oh,
but
you're not that guy.
They not going to lose,
not that
unfortunately.
guy.
And they did prove a point, and Marcellus is about to prove another one.
Who's that last man robbing these NBA teams?
Coming up, don't count the Rockets out just yet.
We need a bigger mask.
Uncle Jimmy gonna tell you why.
Come on, Balmer.
Small ball have a shot against the Lakers.
Got a medium. Come on, Balmer. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Let's talk about those Lakers who start their second-round series against the Rockets tonight. LeBron's squad has tall trees all over their roster, while the Rockets, they rely on small ball. We're joined now by Uncle Jimmy, ambassador of small ball. So how will LeBron do versus the Rockets small ball?
See, man, this right here, this is what Malcolm meant when he said by any means necessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is what Ralph Tresvant was talking about when he said, I got to do what I got to do. Meaning, Bronny, if you want this thing as bad as you say you do, it don't matter if it's by hook or by crook or however in the hell your hairline look. It's like my cable guy Larry used to say, you gonna have to get her done. And damn all this talk about picking on somebody your own size is overrated. You need to take advantage of the size disadvantage. As soon as the ball gets tipped off, you need to find Russell Westbrook and elbow him straight in the belly button. He got an Audi. It'll hurt like hell. And if James Harden come up to you doing that little shimmy, I need you to wham, knee him straight in the ding-ding. Now look here, Ocho. I know you don't condone violence, but trust me, you gotta take advantage of the size disadvantage. If you don't beat a little person when they're little, this is what'll happen to you, right here. They will develop sauce losers of Brander.
I won finally.
You have to stop them early.
I needed that W, man. Been on a bad losing streak.